So I just beat Resident Evil Requiem, and I wanted to make a quick, spoiler-free video talking about my thoughts and impressions on this game. It took me about 11 hours to finish it, and right off the bat, I'll just say, the game is phenomenal. Just for a bit of context, I recently played Resident Evil 7 and 8 for the first time, and I also played the remakes of Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4. So I am not a long-time fan by any means, but even with that limited context, I loved this game, and I imagine people who've played the entire franchise will get a lot more out of it than I did. I won't talk about the story in this video, but I will say it is very satisfying. The narrative is good, the characters are very well written, and it never feels like the game drags on. First, let's talk about the presentation. The visuals are absolutely incredible. It runs well, and the audio design is one of the best I've seen in a game. Normally, I don't pay much attention to sound design, but when it's this good, I just have to mention it. Just listen to this. The lighting is also amazing, especially with ray tracing on, and it really helps elevate the contrast between the darker and the brighter parts of the game. The character animations, mocap, and voice acting are also top tier. The attention to detail in presentation is something we don't see very often. For a new AAA game to release with this level of visual fidelity and this level of performance and with no patches, this is what I expect from a AAA release. On to the gameplay. In Requiem, you play as two characters, Grace Ashcroft, the new protagonist, and Leon Kennedy, the coolest video game character of all time. The contrast between the two playstyles is so massive that these two parts could have easily been their own separate games. With Grace, you get the gameplay style of RE2 Remake and RE7. With Leon, it's closer to RE4 Remake and Village. Grace's parts are survival horror. Leon's parts are basically an action game. There's some overlap between the two, but that's the general split. The game recommends first person for Grace and third person for Leon, and I agree with that. First person adds a lot to Grace's gameplay. There's a lot of sneaking and surviving, and it just fits. That said though, after the first section, I switched Grace to a third person because the FOV in first person is a bit too narrow for me, and there is no FOV slider in this game. Grace's character fits her playstyle so perfectly. Like, she's always nervous, scared, constantly panicking. You can hear her gasping while just walking around, which makes sense. She's an FBI analyst who writes reports and sits behind a desk. She's clearly not Leon. When you play as Leon, it's all action. He's quipping, kicking zombies in the face, parrying, and just destroying everything in sight. You get a ton of weapons, you get this sick hatchet. It is just full-on action. And the two gameplay styles complement each other very well. Usually, if I'm playing a horror game, I need to take breaks because I get too stressed out. This was not necessary in this game because as soon as I hit that point where it was getting too scary for me, the game switched to Leon. And I think this structure feels cohesive, like it doesn't feel like they just added two styles for the sake of variety. With Grace, you are surviving the horror. With Leon, you are the horror. When you're playing as Leon, they literally give you a bracelet that tracks your kills. You get points for killing, and you can use those points to buy weapons and upgrades for Leon. I think this is the best version of Leon we've seen so far. He's older, more mature, and shows a bit more emotion. And his presence in this game actually makes sense. It never feels like he's just here because he's a fan favorite. Both of these characters look so good visually. Their design, clothes, hair, everything just looks stunning. And this is part of the reason why I wanted to play third person as Grace instead of first person. I do recommend playing first person with her if you want full immersion, but I also think I didn't miss out too much by playing in third person. And also, Because Grace and Leon play so differently, their systems are very different. Grace gets less ammo, fewer resources, and you simply cannot just kill everything. So you're forced to sneak and navigate around zombies rather than just fight through them. Her upgrade system is similar to RE7. You get antique coins to upgrade things like health, damage, and inventory space. And you also get item boxes when you play as Grace, so you have to be mindful of what you carry and what you store. Again, similar to RE7 and RE2. Leon has none of that. No item box, no resource management, just weapons, ammo, and chaos. The crafting follows a similar split. With Leon, you get your typical ammo, med injectors, and grenades. With Grace, there's a new mechanic where you collect infected blood and craft items with it, including a few stealth-specific items that are unique to Grace. As for the level design, I'll only talk about the Care Center level to avoid spoilers. This is like your first big area after the intro, and this place is massive. I think this level alone is bigger than all of Resident Evil 7. I spent hours just exploring it and checking every single corner. Absolutely loved this level. The core gameplay loop is simple, like find an item, open a locked door, like any other Resident Evil game, but it's done so well here. You have multiple floors, multiple rooms, constantly opening up new pathways. It never felt repetitive, even when backtracking, because there's always something to unlock or explore. The enemy variety in this level is also very clever. You mostly get zombies, but the zombies have their own routines. There's a zombie that just turns the lights off, there's a chef zombie, a cleaner zombie. They all behave differently when they attack. This whole area had me hooked the entire time. As for the negatives, I don't have too many bad things to say about this game, just a few nitpicks. Firstly, the game doesn't let you turn off film grain. I play on PC and usually I always turn off things like motion blur, lens distortion, and film grain. I prefer having a sharp, clean image. But unfortunately, you can't turn off the film grain here. It's not that big of an issue though. I got used to it very quickly, but I wish they had a toggle to turn it off. Otherwise, the game is completely fine from a technical point of view. I didn't have any crashes or dips, everything just ran smoothly from start to finish. My other minor complaint is the length. As I've said, it took me about 11 hours to finish, which is usually the perfect length for linear games, but because the game is so good and you get to play two distinct gameplay styles, I feel like there was a bit more potential. Maybe a few more optional areas for Grace and a few more boss fights for Leon would have been nice. But this is just me wanting more of the game because I loved it so much. Overall, I had an absolute blast with Resident Evil Requiem. I just wish it was a little bit longer, and I think this game is going to be one of the best games we see this year. I don't remember the last time I was this impressed with a game on release. The level of polish is incredible, and I hope to see more games on par with this quality. If you've enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. I recently started this YouTube channel and I made a few videos talking about my experience with horror games as someone who doesn't enjoy horror, and I plan to cover a lot more games from different genres going forward. Thanks for watching.